Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group, and tonight we have Miss Terri Bonds on the show, and we're going to be talking about reparations. Mayor Quentin Lucas, I think about a week or two ago, uh, formed a new panel to discuss and take a look at reparation issue here in Kansas City, and Madame Bonds was named chairwoman of the committee. And welcome to the show, Terri.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. Nelson.
All right. Hey, Ms. Bonds, talk to our audience a little bit and tell them a little bit about reparations in general.
Well, reparations in general is not a new idea. Reparations has been around for a very, very long time, and conversations probably in our community go back 30 years, maybe 40 years. So it is a historic point in our history here in Kansas City that we have a conversation at the city council level, our local government level, to say, let's take a look at reparations and see how that might apply to Kansas City. And I think I didn't answer your question. So reparations is the repair. So for all of the injustices, for all of the racism, for all of the discrimination, the redlining, the Jim Crow laws, all of the things that Black people endured over the past however many years in Kansas City, because we're focused on Kansas City. How do we get to this place, and what is the repair? How do we fix it? And that is the commission's charge.
Can you tell our audience some of the board members that are serving with you?
Yeah, and I knew you were going to ask me that, so I have them right here. So there are 13 members of the Kansas City Mayor's Commission, and those members are Will Bowles, Carnell Ellis, Kenneth Ford, Dennis Hartsfield, Kelly Hearn, Dr. Bridget Jones, Dion King, Madison Lyman, who is a junior in high school. We're really excited to have a young person sit with us on the commission. Asia Morris, Fritz Reismeyer, Ryan Sorrell, and Linwood Tahid. And that makes up the 13 individuals.
So what is your charge?
As the chairperson?
Yeah.
Or the commission's charge?
The commission's charge.
So the commission's charge, again, we will be attempting to answer two questions. How did we get here? So being able to document the harm. So document the unemployment, document the health disparities, document the educational disparities. How did we get here? What is the documented harm? And then we will make recommendations to the city on how we believe those harms can be repaired and how we would hope we can put things in place to where it never happens again.
Now,
so we have an 18-month.
Go ahead.
We have an 18-month commitment to get this work done. And again, we met for the first time last night, which was mainly logistics and schedules and just hearing from the legal department on sunshine laws to keep us all out of trouble. But our very first meeting of the commission will be June 27th.
And what do you consider your personal charge as the chair?
I think our charge is to really keep us focused. One of my concerns, I have several concerns. People don't understand reparations and what reparations is. And I think one of my charges will try to make sure the commission stays very focused on what it is we are there to do. We have a reparations coalition in Kansas City, which is headed up by Mickey Dean and Reverend Esther Holzendorf, who are, by the way, advisors to the commission. So they will be a part of our ongoing meetings because Mickey Dean probably has the most extensive background and knowledge in this particular space. He's got a lot of resources and documentation and national expertise that we can draw on to make sure Kansas City gets it right. The other thing that I'm concerned about is making sure that the community has a voice and that the community understands what it is that we are doing so that we can get folks on board. As you might imagine, everybody's not on board. I think a significant number of people that are not on board are not on board because they don't understand what it is. And what they hear is the very fearful idea that somebody's going to come after additional tax dollars and money, and it's going to have this negative impact on me personally. And we just want to make sure that we stay in front of that and make sure that we're very clear on what it is that we're doing.
Do you feel that the Kansas City City Council is on board with this?
Well, what I can say is we have an ordinance that was voted on unanimously and moved forward and signed by the mayor. So that tells me they are on board and supportive. We are an independent commission, so we will not engage the folks on the city council in our work other than for support services like administrative services or research needs. We are working with them right now to try to figure out how do we make sure the community stays aware? Where do we deposit this information in a repository? Because there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of documentation, probably lectures, a lot of information that we want out there and available.
I think Cascade Media Group, for one, with the largest Black digital audience, should be put in consideration. Sounds self-serving, but when you start talking about things that are representing people of color, I think that we are a standard bearer in that respect, and I think that resource is totally underutilized. Moving forward, what states or cities do you know that actually are working on some similar solutions as it relates to reparations?
So yes, there are several other cities who have activated a commission. Um, Evanston, Illinois is one. St. Louis is another. I think on the cover of the call paper this week, we have a whole story about California. And I have a list here. I want to, so I don't miss anybody. Detroit, San Francisco, Boston, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Berkeley, Amherst. They've all commissioned to start the study, which is what we're doing. We're conducting a study to make the proposal for reparatory justice.
With Cascade Media Group being digital worldwide social media, this interview is super important because you're focusing on Kansas City, but the things that are going on as it relates to reparations that you stated ran off a couple of cities that are considering reparation proposals. Uh, it's the same thing in their cities, a little different twist. So it's really important on that more than Kansas Cityans will be looking at what we're talking about as reparations. In closing, what would you have to say in general to our community? And as I say, we feel we represent the diaspora. And I think that reparations issue is a global issue for people of color. And what would you have to say on that in closing?
Yeah, in closing, I guess I want to speak to the naysayers. I want to speak to the people, Black people, who are making their voices heard, who don't believe we'll ever receive it. They think it's a waste of time. Um, because what I'd like to say is, what's the alternative? Right now we're living with the alternative of never having had reparations, any support, any reparatory justice for the atrocities that were done to Black people over hundreds of years, that we continue to experience today. We talk a lot about slavery, and people are we get that part. But you got lynchings, you got Jim Crow laws, you got segregation, you got all of these other issues that Black people have never been. Um, we've never had an opportunity to say, this is what was done to us, and this is what the repair looks like. And these people, the systems are the things that are responsible. And so for us, over the next 18 months, and not just Kansas City, but across the country, we are putting those studies together. We are putting names to paper. We are putting projected dollar amounts to the injury. And we are presenting that in a very formal and official and well-researched and well-documented way to our city, to our cities. And again, we can't, the commissions are not responsible for activating any of it, but the work will be done, the research will be done. And I, for one, think it'll be very difficult for people to just turn a blind eye to it once it's documented, and the work is there for them to see.
All righty. I guess I'll get on Mr. Jim Watts' nerve because I'll steal his closing. Jim
It's
is
been a plum
pleasing
pleasure
to have you on the show tonight. He's out on
Well,
the
Carlos, I hope you'll invite me back. There'll be a lot more information. We want to keep the community updated, and we want to make sure that we give the community a voice in the work that we're doing forward. We appreciate it.
I think that's necessary, and from my point of view, got to stop managing from the top down. Got to listen to what the community actually has to say, evaluate that, and present that in a logical manner. So, as we always say, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good night.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.